Now, about a year ago, I made this video talking about the Spotmatic SP that I purchased from the original owner. And I talked about how kind of important it was and why I felt the need and the desire to customize it, to set it apart from my other fleet of film cameras. And I stand by that video. I still feel like there's a few cameras in my collection that I really want to do the service of customizing and just making it look that bit extra cool, special, whatever. And as a way to kind of signify their importance to me and their importance amongst the larger collection as a whole. And coincidentally, a few months ago, I received an email from a small company out of Lithuania called Colorful Analog Cameras. An email kind of read as follows: like your channel, I'd like to collaborate. Going on to Colorful Analog Cameras website, I was blown away, is the expression I would probably have to use, by not only the quality, but also the diversity of products on availability. And not only that, but the affordability. If you want to customize your camera, this is the place you gotta go. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So after I picked my jaw up off the floor, put it back in place, I responded and said I would be more than happy to collaborate with your brand and bring as many eyeballs to this as possible, because I think that this is a fantastic product, and her ability to create designs, hand draw them, and cut everything to perfection, I feel like is worth sharing with the larger community as a whole. So I said yes, be happy to. She asked, well, what are you looking for? What do you want? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, surprise me. The only thing I said was I've got a Kiev 60. Some of you may know I've had this camera forever. One of my older videos that is annoyingly still kind of popular to this day is me failing to try to customize it myself, leading to a terrible design that ended up peeling off years later. And then for some reason I put painter's tape on it. No clue why I did that, but I did. And I pulled the painter's tape off and put her leather on, but we'll get back to that in a moment. So I said, Kiev 60, if you can, if not, completely fine. Anything else you have in mind, send my way. I'd be happy to take a look at it. So she sent 4 different skins my way. Kiev 60 with a fantastic black and white tiger flower pattern. The Fed 3 with this beautiful mosaic flower pattern. Pentax MG, lovely pink color, and skins for a Konica C35 in a beautiful deep red. But out of all of those, the thing that stuck out to me most was the Kiev 60, not only because the design is probably one of the cooler things I've ever seen, but also because this was presumably one of the first times that she's made a leather for this specific camera. And I'm really impressed with the quality. There was only a few issues with it, and that was on the top part of it, the metered prism. I suspect that's because my Kiev has a kind of strange metered prism design. But other than that, she absolutely nailed everything. In fact, since I got this camera, it's never had any leather on it. So I was not even aware that there was a strip of leather that runs on the lens mount. But she was, and there was a strip of leather just for that. So I applied that and it worked beautifully. The attention to detail, ability to create unique and fun designs is second to none. The application of the leather is actually quite simple. It comes on a piece of paper, taped on. Peel the leather off of your camera. I would recommend using a heat gun, holding it at some distance to kind of loosen up the adhesive underneath. Cotton swab with some alcohol to clean up the camera underneath, and then apply adhesive and then the leather that she has. Make sure it fits perfectly in place, and then you're good to go. Adhesives I would recommend using, something like Pliobond or contact cement. Still gives you a little bit of flexibility afterwards. I would personally stick away from super glue, because once you kind of set it, you're done. So if you make any kind of mistake and it dries, you're kind of SOL. So for that reason, I would say maybe best to try something different, but to each their own. There are also double-sided tape options, which might be easier for you, but I still prefer contact cement, Pliobond, and you can pick those up from Ace Hardware, anything like that. The other thing I want to mention is the Fed 3 skin that she sent in. Now, as some of you may know, I do have a Fed 5B, and I've spoken quite a bit as to why I don't really like this camera. Now, I've had to kind of curtail this a bit lately because I've been speaking to some of my European audience, and they have said that the Fed cameras and the Kiev cameras and all of the Soviet cameras are very, very plentiful and popular in that market, which makes sense. That's kind of where they originated from. And because of that, they are very affordable. And I think if I reframe this perspective, the Fed 5B is a camera that I got for 40 bucks, came with the box, came with the lens, and it's good to go. And that's very impressive for a rangefinder camera. So if I compare that to other cameras that you can get for 40 bucks, I would say it's a much higher quality version than a lot of those. It's not really something that can be compared to its much classier, nicer relatives like a Leica, Voigtlander, or any of those things. It's kind of in its own category. So affordability purposes, I think the Fed is a very good camera, and I think it's a great camera to give somebody who's just trying out film photography, or if you're in that area of the world, it is a fantastic option as well. Now, the great thing about colorful analog cameras is that it has a lot of options for these Soviet era cameras, meaning you can take what was a mass-produced, stamped out of a factory, kind of cheaply produced, cheaply made camera system and really make it your own with these beautiful designs. And that makes it very cool because, again, very affordable for what it is, and it's just going to give it that extra little bit of oomph that sets it apart from all of the other thousands of these that were made. And even if this is a camera that just sits on your shelf, it's not something you use all the time, it has now become a bit more of a piece of artwork. It's a bit more of a piece of design. But if you take it out, if you're out shooting with friends, it's something, again, that sets it apart from the other cameras that are out there. So that is colorful analog cameras, a great brand, and a great way to separate your cameras from the rest of them out there, make it a little bit more special, make it look a little bit better, and really just inspire some creative desire within you. Hopefully when you look at your camera and you see this beautiful work of art, it would inspire you to make your own. I know it has for me. I look at the Fed 5B now as not a camera that I don't really want to shoot with ever again, and I look at it as something that I'm really excited to either just have on my shelf or, again, to take out and try another roll through. So I greatly encourage you to check her out on social media. Definitely give her a like, give her a follow, subscribe to her YouTube page, all of that stuff. Check out her website, see if there's any products out there that you are curious in trying out yourself. She has a whole lot of them and a whole lot of options, and everything, again, is really, really well done. Genuinely impressed for the cost of it versus what you're getting. It is outstanding work. The other thing I will say, if you are like me, living in America, obviously companies in Lithuania, so bear that in mind with shipping costs and time. But other than that, it got here very, very quickly. Just something to bear in mind. 10 out of 10, cannot recommend this brand enough. Support her, please. That would mean a lot to me. It'd mean a lot to her as well. Thank you for watching. I appreciate this as always. Like the video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel. Colorful analog cameras. Fantastic work. Thank you for this. Catch you on the next one.